Welcome to the Sober and Happy podcast, where we talk about all things recovery related, how to navigate the challenges that we'll face along the way on our journey towards our best lives, and how we could go from living a life of simply just being sober to a life where we're both sober and happy. Today we're diving into a topic that's crucial for anybody considering sobriety. When is the right time to get sober? Here's a spoiler alert. The right time is now. In today's episode, we'll explore why we shouldn't wait any longer, the consequences of putting it off, combating the excuses we use not to get sober today, and all the reasons to take the plunge immediately. So buckle up. This is going to be a great episode. Welcome back. First off, let's address the idea of waiting for the right time to get sober. Many of us have convinced ourselves that there'll be a perfect moment, a time when everything aligns perfectly, and somehow it'll be easier then. But here's the truth. There is no perfect time. Life will always have its challenges and stressors, and waiting for the ideal moment is often just an excuse to delay the inevitable. But I get it. I spent years of my life waiting for the right time. After summer, once I get into a better living situation, when I'm not living with friends I drink with, when life isn't so stressful, and then there's my favorite go-to, tomorrow. But ultimately, those were all excuses. So why do we make these excuses? For some of us, it's the fear of the unknown. Humans naturally gravitate towards what is familiar, even if what is familiar is not good for us. It's the same reason people stay in toxic relationships, or even when they finally get out of one, often find themselves right back into another one just like the one they just got out of. It is often why we put down one addiction just to pick up another one. For many of us, it becomes the only thing we know, so change, even if it's for the good, is still incredibly scary. For others, it's the belief that we need alcohol to cope with the stress of life. It was very common for me to say, if you were going through what I was going through, you would drink like I do. I remember telling a friend that one time and having him respond, well, the reason why I'm not going through what you're going through is only because I don't drink like you do. It was a real wake-up call. Yes, some traumas happened before I started drinking, and for a while drinking seemed to stuff those feelings down. But in the end, most of the consequences I was dealing with were a direct result of my drinking. So I got stuck in the cycle of drinking away yesterday's consequences, then creating new consequences today that I'll have to drink away again tomorrow. And then some of us think, I'll quit when things get better, whether that's a job situation, a relationship, or any other external factor. But let me tell you, waiting for the perfect moment is like waiting for a unicorn. It doesn't exist. Life will always throw curveballs. If we wait for everything to be perfect, we will be waiting forever. And we need to be honest with ourselves about the consequences of putting off quitting. Every day that we continue to drink, we are risking our health, our relationships, our careers, and our overall well-being. Alcohol is a progressive disease, meaning it gets worse over time. The longer we wait, the deeper we sink into the hole. Health-wise, continued drinking can lead to liver damage, heart problems, and a host of other physical issues. Mentally, it could worsen depression and anxiety, creating a vicious cycle that's hard to break. Relationships suffer. Careers can be jeopardized by poor performance or calling into work too many times. Even when I convinced myself I was a functional alcoholic because I could still make it to work most of the time, I still was nowhere close to fulfilling my potential. I was settling for functional. Think about that for a second. Do you want a life where the bar is set at functional? You deserve so much more than that. There are also the consequences of the loss of time. Time is the one resource we can never get back. Every day spent drinking is another day lost to addiction, a day we could have spent building a better, happier, and healthier life. And every day that you dig the hole a little deeper, that is only further that you must climb out of. But let's get real for a moment. The most significant risk that we take by putting this off is that we don't know if that extra day of drinking could be the one where we cause irreversible harm. Many of us have people in our lives that have suffered the consequences of our drinking. The people who love us so much that they have stood by us and given us multiple chances, even after telling us that this is the last chance. When we continue to put off getting sober, we risk that them telling us that this is the last time might actually be the last time. There may not ever be a perfect time to get sober, but today is always better than the day after finding out that you truly used up your last chance and now it's too late. Now, let's combat some of the common excuses we make for not getting sober today. One of the biggest ones is, I'll quit after this event. It could be a party, a wedding, a holiday. There's always something on the horizon that we think will be our last hurrah. But there's always another event. Life is full of celebrations and gatherings, and waiting for the last one is just a way to procrastinate. Another excuse is, I need to drink to cope with stress. While it's true that life can be stressful, alcohol is not the solution. In fact, it often increases the stress in the long run. Sobriety can be challenging at first, but it ultimately leads to better mental health. Then there's the fear of failure. What if I try to quit and I can't do it? This fear is understandable, but it shouldn't hold us back. The path to sobriety is not always a straight line, and setbacks are often part of the journey. The important thing is to start and keep moving forward, even if progress is slow. Trying and failing is better every time rather than not trying at all. I've heard many people putting off sobriety, saying that they must have not hit rock bottom yet. Here's the thing about rock bottom. We will always find a way to keep digging if we stay active in our addiction. I know that I had many things that I said over the years that if I ever do this, I would quit drinking. Many times I looked at someone further down the road of alcoholism and said, I will never let myself get that bad. And I believed myself when I said it. Yet, I crossed those lines every time. In the beginning, I might quit drinking for a couple days, weeks, or even a month after crossing certain lines, but I'd always find a way to justify going back to drinking. But as time went on, lines became easier to cross with each one crossed. And in the end, I absolutely despised the person I had become. I had become the person that other people looked at and said, I will never let myself get that bad. I had no plans on becoming that person. I regretted the things I had done. I didn't want to continue, yet I kept putting off quitting one more day. For me, it was a moment of clarity, a moment of seeing the person I had truly become. All the justifications and excuses were stripped away at that moment, and I got a good look at myself, and I wanted to be better. I didn't need another DUI, another lost friendship, another repossessed car, another eviction, another friendship flushed down the drain, or another failed relationship to do that. I had to want to be better, for me and for the people I love. But even after that moment, I still had a condition. I wasn't going to rehab until after the 4th of July. I still put it off. So I get it if you're continuing to put it off, but I was still rolling the dice for those couple of weeks until I went to rehab. I was still drinking and driving daily, and I was still causing chaos and wreckage in my life. Looking back, I was still gambling with mine and others' lives for a date on the calendar. I got lucky. But do you really want to gamble another day? If you need any further proof on whether you should put off getting sober for another day, ask anyone sober what their biggest regret is, and most of them will tell you that it is that they wish they would have gotten sober sooner. We can't roll back the clock and get sober sooner, but now is going to be better than tomorrow every single time. Thank you for listening to this episode, and I hope you enjoy the podcast. Here's your weekly challenge. This one may be a little more of a favor than a challenge. I want to ask you to share my podcast with one person who you think might benefit from it. I've been working hard to grow this podcast, but there's only so much that I could do. The best way to grow is by word of mouth. So if you've gotten something from this podcast, the best way to show your appreciation to me would be to spread the word. So I humbly ask you to please do that favor for me this week. That is my challenge for you this episode. New episodes come out each Friday, so I look forward to connecting with you next week. And as always, thank you so much for listening and keep living sober and happy.